now underway. Great. Awesome. No worries. So I'm sure there'll be some more people rolling in as we go, but we're here. It's time to get underway. And anyone who misses anything at the beginning can obviously catch that up in the recording at the end. So firstly, thank you everybody for joining, for putting your hand up to join this webinar. It is our official APAC launch webinar, so we're all really excited to be here, especially David and I, and pleasure to be joined by a couple of fantastic guest speakers too. So I'll introduce them in a second. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name's Jack Thiel. I'm the brand new APAC commercial lead for Mayday. I'm based in Adelaide, so hopefully providing some nice time zone comfort for anybody who needs to reach out and have a chat with us. I'm a chartered accountant myself. I've spent over 10 years across different accounting and accounting tech roles, which has been a pleasure. And I began my journey working between different finance departments as part of my role at PwC, and have never quite lost the accounting bug since for some reason, as many of us here probably feel the same way. And for anybody who doesn't know Mayday as of yet, we are a month-end accounting automation product, and we're fortunate enough to recently win Xero's Emerging App Partner of the Year award over in the UK. So exciting to be bringing this product down to Australia, New Zealand, and the broader APAC region. Because it is probably it is our biggest region. We've got the most customers already on board right here. So yeah, pleasure to be taking you through the product today. As a little overview of the agenda, we wanted to, I suppose, keep it short and sweet, but provide as much insight into the company and where we're going with the product as well. Before I go any further, though, I do want to introduce our guests. So obviously, we're joined by David Tuck, our CEO and co-founder. We're joined by Tyler from the Bean Counters and Katrina from Massetti as well. So thank you all for coming along.
Thank you.
That's all right. I wanted to actually jump to you first, Tyler, and begin the conversation around why month end. What is the problem with month end? Because I think that rolls really nicely into the mission and vision behind Mayday. So, I mean, from your perspective, I know you've worked with a ton of businesses. You help them to, improve their month-end process. You improve their accounting systems. So why is this still a process that some teams deem to be proficient in, even if it still takes 10 days, 15 days post-month end? Why is it such a big, hard problem to solve?
Yeah, there's two main reasons I see. Number one is like starting after month end. Like that's like the Achilles heel of every accounting team or finance team. Is they're like, and I remember working at AGL. We would start our month end processes on the first working day, and it's just a very good way to kick it off. Everyone's kind of doing it on the same page, but there's so much you can do prior. You can do so many accruals. You can check a lot of your balance sheet reconciliations and items. The second part I'm really seeing is just not absorbing good tech. Like if you're not using bank feeds at the moment, you're probably on not the best system at the moment. Like, bank feeds have been around since like 2009. So if you're not using them, or if you're still on SAP or something that doesn't use them very well, have a think about it. And then, really other systems like Wheel that can help you close your credit cards, those ones can really speed yourself up. So, it's the old half of it is like process, and the other half is, usually tech. And then to add that to, I'm always seeing finance teams, like you've got to get around the month end. You've actually got to want to start and finish it. That's the big change I'm seeing is the teams that get in are like, hey, we're going to close in 2 days. They're the teams that like actually hustle to kind of do it and make good material decisions. So they're my pieces.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really interesting conversation I had when, David and I were talking about the role that I was looking to join Mayday, and just discussing this, this revolution we had with bookkeeping that meant we could get the books up to date within, an hour or something, maybe less depending on how quickly the transactions come through. But for accounting, it still seems to be this massive lag between, month end or whatever day of the week it is, and actually getting the accounts in place. So I appreciate all of that. Katrina, I might throw to you if I can, and you're obviously a Mayday user, but I want to get into your experience with Mayday later. But in terms of what you've seen working in month end and the biggest pain points and the biggest problems, I suppose the biggest steps in that are taking the most time or causing the most havoc? Yeah, what are you seeing, or what have you seen?
The problems I've seen, when you said the problems that cause the most havoc, would be the reconciliation of intercompanies. You know, you can have the most, and I've worked from large, companies, so using enterprise systems down to zero. And the problem is common when it comes to multiple entities within a consolidated group, and that is reconciliation of those journals, because the other side of the journals rely on humans to create the other side. So generally one side of the entry will be created by a cash in or out, but a human has to do the other side. Some systems have tried to solve that problem, but not well. And then that's the recording of the journal. Then if you've done all the journals and your month-end process is complete, don't pop the champagne yet, because once you do the reconciliation to match all the entities off and they don't match, you have to scratch your head and find, well, where's the problem? And you've got to trawl through GL transactions. And again, it's another human process. So I'm with Jack. I'm with Tyler. It's all about adopting tech to solve problems and get on the job of what we're good at, which is strategy and helping the business find ways to make and save money and so on. So yeah, my pain points would be, how do you get those transactions recorded accurately? Because humans are involved, so there'll always be errors. And then when you reconcile, how do you find the errors, which again involves a human, and that involves trawling through transactions. And I haven't even got onto recharge, but recharging is also a whole nother topic I think we're going to cover as well.
Yes, absolutely. We'll get to recharging. I mean, David, based on everything that you've heard Tyler and Katrina say, I assume that's kind of probably a nice transition into why Mayday was born, where it came from, the problem we're trying to solve. So I might leave that with you to discuss the mission and vision, and just let me know when you want to bring up the long-term vision on the screen.
Yeah, absolutely. And hi, everyone. My name's David Tuck. I'm the co-founder and CEO here at Mayday. And yeah, so thrilled to be kind of marking our formal APAC launch with this webinar. As Jack mentioned, we've already over half of our customers are based in Australia, and amazing to work with. We've worked with Katrina, worked with Tyler, worked with so many amazing businesses, and thrilled to have Jack join us to be able to step change our growth in territory, which is really exciting. To bring it back to why month end, at its real core, it's, for me, so my background was I qualified in practice, then headed up a succession of startup SME finance teams. I've been an accounting tech entrepreneur for the last decade. And for me, it's like, why month end at all? Why are we beholden to monthly cycles? Jack talked about the revolution in bookkeeping that's taken place over the last decade plus. If I look back to my first move out of practice, bookkeeping now versus then, unrecognizably different. It is now possible for a business to entertain doing daily bookkeeping. That's not to say that they will necessarily do that, because there is still some marginal work involved. But if you were to go back, what will it be, 13 years this year to my first move out of practice into heading up a finance team, we just couldn't have entertained daily bookkeeping then because of the process, right? Because of, downloading bank transactions, manually entering them into our desktop accounting software. Now we can entertain daily bookkeeping. And yet, when it comes to closing off the period, delivering management information, we're beholden to the monthly cycle because of this huge volume of work that involves manual identification, calculation, and logging. And what it was for me and for Griff and I as a founding team was that when we came to look at the month-end process, all of the work between accurate bookkeeping and accurate accounting, so that we can deliver our management information, like, that hasn't changed. Like, literally, it hasn't changed. I still have to use the same spreadsheet that I did 13 years ago to manually identify, calculate, and log all of these month-end accounting adjustments. So we're starting with the multi-entity side of things. And Jack, this is probably a good time to jump forward in the slides to to our full wheel as a kind of product vision of all of these different culprits, if you will, of the month-end pain, all of these different opportunities that there are to deliver brilliant tech to address these pain points. We've started in the top right when it comes to the pain points specifically related to multi-entity businesses. We've got all of these different processes that take up a huge amount of manual work. And to Katrina's point, even with that, carry the risk of kind of human error. Even with the best will in the world, there's a scope for inaccuracy to creep in there, because these are human processes that are untouched by great technology. And when you think about the opportunities that are there to apply, great rules-based automation, great artificial intelligence to them, that's our sweet spot. So these are all of the kind of the processes that we're coming for when it comes to month end. And I guess our North Star is that we want to reduce every single process that a business has to carry out as part of the month-end process today, down to a single click. So automated, accurate accounting as part of month-end. So that, just to close, to Katrina's point, right? Like I like to look at the finance function almost in a sort of Maslow hierarchy of needs sense, that you've got your base level subsistence need as closing the books and getting your management information out. Until you've done that, everything else necessarily needs to wait. But there's so many opportunities to kind of move up the value chain into FP&A type work, into adding value to businesses. So this is the most incredible kind of win-win opportunity. It's enabling stakeholders to get management information earlier by hugely truncating that month-end process, and enabling finance teams to move up the hierarchy of needs to do more interesting, more fulfilling, more value-adding work.
And David, that's the absolute truth. Like, I've never met an accountant or a bookkeeper or a assistant accountant that's like, I want to do more manual transactions, and I think, like, I've got a similar background to you. Like, I was a CFO for a period of time, and financial controller as well, and I never met someone in my team that, actually, it's a lie. I met one or two people in my team that wanted to stay in their same role, and I find month end is so based on trying to get the transactions right, where we've got such good tech now that can do that for us, that the real goal of like a finance leader is to like enable your team to do more challenging work, to spend less time making sure that the GST or the VAT is perfect, and really giving them, instead of we call it in our team churn. Some people come in and they've got 7 hours of churn a day. If you can get that down to 6 hours, then they've got an hour and a half now for that. Maybe they're not under the same amount of pressure. If something goes wrong, they can actually manage it in their day. And also, if they've got a bit of a project or a challenge, you can give them a little bit of extra work, which keeps them stimulated, and maybe as a finance leader, take something off your to-do list.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, because just to jump in there, I couldn't agree more, Tyler. Like, I don't think anyone loves to solve an intercompany reconciliation imbalance, but yeah, you're absolutely right. If the computer can tell you, oh, maybe these are the reasons why intercompany's out, as Mayday does, and then all you have to do is tick that dissimilar to bank reconciliation function, it makes it then more enjoyable, even such a menial task. But that task becomes more enjoyable when it's aided by the tech. And then, of course, if they have more time, I can't wait for all the red quadrants or triangles or pizza slices to become purple. And I've got more I'm sure we can add, but the ones that are in force have saved us. I would say, and this is not an exaggeration, because I have a group that's got 14 entities, and sometimes a month then could take 4 to 6 a day's work to try and find an erroneous journal. And we've cut that down, really to 15 minutes, because the AI pops out for us. Maybe it's this error, and we can now save a whole day. So yeah, and I do away with my 16 by 16 metrics in Excel.
Katrina, I literally got experience of this from last night. Like we're working with a 25 entity group on Xero. They were on my ob, we moved them to Xero, and then helped them use Mayday to do their intercompany loans. And their tax accountant sent me an email at 11:18 p.m. last night with, "Hey, I've finally done the balancing in Xero." And I was like, I've also just automated it in Mayday as well. And I'd got all the green matrix. And there's some dopamine effect about it as well. Like Xero, not many people know this, but when you finish reconciling your bank account in Xero, it's like, "Hey, well done, thumbs up." What that does in some people's minds, it's like marking off a task, right?
Yeah.
And what I think, and I know this isn't like a Mayday sales session, but like, the ability to get all greens, like I logged in this morning and we had 3 or 4 reds in our intercompany, and it bugged my brain. And then one of my team members went in and fixed it. And I even told David before, I was like, this is just fantastic to see. And like, as a finance lead, like I had confidence, like me reviewing 25 entities going into Xero and ticking them off versus utilizing a system. Now I'm going to pass that to their CFO, and she's never, ever going to have to manually do, a 25 by 25 spreadsheet again. Like I'm talking 5 hours. And David, there's something you said before about value add time. I guarantee you that tax accountant didn't want to be doing that work at 11:18 p.m. last night.
Yeah.
I bet you she probably didn't get paid overtime for it. And so now people are not only adding more value during their day, they're getting more time with their family, because people don't really value compliance the way they used to, because financial statements have become less connected to share price or value of companies. So it's a really good point. Like the low value work, the more you can automate it, the better your day goes.
So
Or night.
nice transition, I think, into showing everyone on the webinar today what we're talking about. So if you have any other thoughts, just hold them, because it's a good conversation. I think we can continue, but I might just jump over now, show the product, walk you through it very quickly so everybody knows what we're talking about. And David, feel free to jump in, interrupt me if you want to add anything as I go.
Amazing.
So hopefully you guys can all see that on screen. This is Mayday. As you can see, I've got the 3 products that we currently have out and available as of today. We've got Balancer, which is, as Katrina's been calling out and Tyler's been calling out, all about balancing your intercompany loans, identifying discrepancies, one-sided postings, making your life easy there. We've got Recharger, which is a rules-based engine to automate your monthly recharges and potentially markups as well. And we have Brag, which stands for Business Reconciliation Across the Group. So a really nice feature that I'll explain as I show it to you in a second. So starting with Balancer, this is your central point of call for intercompany accounts, intercompany loans. As Tyler and Katrina have both called out, you can have 20, 30, 50 of these across a big enough group. So being able to have a central point of call to spot which ones are in balance, highlighted in green, and which ones currently have a discrepancy, highlighted in red, to make your life so much easier when it comes to identifying those one-sided postings. So the pain we're trying to solve with this is because today you're currently having to download account transaction listings from multiple Xero files, piece them together in a spreadsheet, and potentially, spend hours trying to find the needle in the haystack. What we're doing for you is bringing that needle to the forefront. So we can see the discrepancy here. We can jump into the transaction details. Month by month, you can see all of the transactions from Xero, and our intelligent matching has matched those up for you. You can have 2 transactions on one side, 1 on the other. You can have foreign currency, and we'll take that into account as well. And so it's all about making your life easy when it comes to spotting the one-sided postings so that you can go into Xero and get those resolved as quickly as possible. Once resolved, obviously then you're going to come back to your Balancer dashboard. They're all going to be highlighted in green. And then depending on the use cases that you need with your groups, you may have a foreign currency adjustment that you might need to post. So I can click into here from within Mayday and post that one click into Xero. And likewise for interest, I know there's some businesses that charge interest on their intercompany loans too. So you can set your interest rate and once again, one click post that into Xero right from within Mayday. And just like everything that we do, when we do a posting into Xero, we're not just posting the bill or invoice or journal, we're posting the other side to the intercompany too. So, we don't want to leave you hanging with a one-sided journal or a one-sided posting. That was our fault too. David, anything you wanted to add on the intercompany or balancer product while we're here?
No, I thought that was great. Yeah, it's really to kind of press home that anything you've got in relation to your intercompany balance sheet, Rex, and that needle in a haystack pain. I remember when we were over in Oz September last year, and we caught someone a week too late because they just spent a day kind of trying to piece Humpty Dumpty back together again. They'd had effectively 1,000 transactions in one intercompany code, 999 in the other, and they'd been through that process. They'd had the account transactions exports from each entity, matching all of them up, which is painful. Like at the best of times, it's positively fiendish when you've got different base currencies involved there, and you're trying to, you've got to retranslate those amounts in order to then manually match them up. And the core of Balancer is doing that for you in a couple of minutes, bringing it straight to your attention what the one-side posting is, and then you can go and fix it in Xero. And then the FX and the interest, those won't be relevant to all businesses, but you'll always have, where you have different base currencies involved, you'll always have an FX movement to post. And now it's as easy as posting the depreciation journal in Xero to one-click post that through Mayday.
Awesome. And I think something to call out as well is so often we see groups coming on board, connecting up, looking at all their loans, and they're obviously, most of them are in red at that point in time. But they go through the process, they identify the discrepancies, resolve them. And the idea is that months moving forward, it's very rare or it's very easy to spot the 1 or 2 discrepancies rather than the 10, 20, 30, 40 or 50 discrepancies. So life gets easier the longer that you are keeping on top of this.
And
I think
Jack,
that's a really great. Sorry, you go, Tyler.
Oh, thanks, Dave. Jack, there's a really cool one that I was using yesterday as well, is the backdated. So like whenever you're like trying to solve, like you're always trying to figure out when was it wrong. So one of the things we've been using a lot over the last couple of days was like just changing that view loans to December or to September, because we were doing quarterly reporting, and being able to like just quickly backdate. Okay, go. All right, everyone, we balanced in September, so we know the issue is October, November, December. Let's get in and try to fix it. So the speed of narrowing that down and not having to go into like 6 different Xero files, because that is the one negative of cloud accounting, is like you're always, you can't have multiple Xero files up and running unless you've got, multiple kind of windows with ease, right? And so this system really takes over some of those weaknesses of cloud accounting, of viewing multiple things in one hit. And that, honestly, that probably saved me about 6-7 hours, because I could just go to my team, hey, you go fix that big loan. You've got to go fix this one. And then the 2 bookkeepers, I allocated like the transactions to clean. That backdated one is, it can't be glossed over. Like even if we're not doing the foreign exchange or the interest, just getting them balanced is, honestly, Katrina, you've probably seen the same. It's about 90% of the task is getting things balanced.
No, great addition. No, thanks, Tyler. That's awesome.
And it was just it's just on that to say that at times in the past I've run into a misconception from people that they think they need to have their intercompanies reconciled and balanced to be able to start benefiting from Balancer, and it couldn't be further from the case. We've got so many great examples, like Tyler's just running through there, of where Balancer has provided huge benefits in going through that kind of cleanup exercise, as I like to call it in inverted commas, of getting into companies in order, because of the value of the transaction matching and the ability to backdate the view and any FX and interest posting. So Balancer is such an invaluable tool for that if you've got a kind of an intercompany house to get in order.
Awesome. Thanks, David. So I'll jump over to Recharger. which is a separate second product within Mayday. And I suppose the problem or the pain that's currently involved with recharging is just the sheer amount of manual process and work that goes into identifying the transactions in one entity that need to be recharged out to one or other entities. This can be, a common example is we've got a central entity that handles all the overheads, could have a credit card that's centralized in there that pays for a whole bunch of expenses on behalf of the group, could have a centralized payroll, could have, certain expenses and overheads that are going to be apportioned out based on sales revenue in each of the entities. There's a whole bunch of situations where businesses and groups are recharging costs. So what we've built within Mayday is effectively a rules engine. So if you're familiar, which most people here probably are, with zero bank rules, the idea is that you come into Mayday and you tell us which transactions, we have expense rules, we have revenue rules, we have balance sheet rules. In this case, I'm setting up an expense rule. And we're saying which expense transactions inside of Xero are going to be relevant for this recharge or this recharge each month. We can then flag those. So I'm saying the Expensify, Office 365, and Google Apps for Business account codes, because these are our software subscriptions that are handled in a central entity that need to be recharged out. Each month when we run our recharges, Mayday is going to run over and look for all of the transactions that meet that criteria. And then it's going to recharge it in whatever way you determine down below. So we can apportion that transaction or all of those transactions based on commercial headcount, floor space, sales turnover, whatever the need is. You can create your own custom apportionments from within Mayday too. So don't get hung up on headcount because it doesn't have to be headcount. That's just one example. You can also apportion it quickly just to one entity because sometimes it is just a two-entity group. Sometimes it's a cost that just needs to go from one entity to the other. And as of tomorrow, I know we'll talk about it in a second, David, but we are releasing intra-entity recharges too. So the idea that within an entity, you might actually need to reallocate transactions. This could be huge with tracking categories where you've got different business units within one Xero file and those kinds of situations too. So take this logic and apply it to within an entity as well. Once we've set up all of our rules for all of our entities, it's as simple as going through to the calculation screen in Mayday, running, or I suppose drafting up your recharges for the month. I'll just jump into one we've done previously and jump back to the beginning of the process just to show you what it looks like. So if I jump back to the start, effectively you come into Mayday, we've calculated for you, we've run over every single transaction that's come through from Xero in that period. You can run this more than monthly. The standard is monthly, but you could run it weekly, fortnightly, whatever. You then pop open each of your rules, you review, make sure that you're happy. Yep, these are the correct transactions that we've picked up. If there is an anomaly, something unusual this month, you can go through and remove it or change the rule that's been applied. And then once you're happy, scroll down to the bottom, move through the process, and then effectively we can prepare for you the invoices and bills or the journals that you need posted. You can post them, as I said, as an invoice and bill in each entity, as a journal. You can choose your currency. You can group them by rule or by transaction. So if I go to one here that's in draft, you can see that if I hit rule, it breaks down the invoice just based on the 3 rules that have been applied. Or if I want the granularity, I can hit transaction. I can see on the invoices and bills each of the transactions that we're recharging out. So there's a lot of power in this functionality. And then all I have to do is go ahead and hit post and post that through. And that posts both sides into, well, this could be 10 entities, and this could post directly into all 10 entities at once to ensure that your recharges are done nice and quickly. So it can take what could be a day's processing down to a 5-minute checkbox exercise where I'm really just double checking that the rules have been run correctly before I go ahead and post this directly into Xero. Anything you wanted to add to that one, David?
Look, I mean, this it was our first product actually, Mayday Recharger, and there's so much power here, right? Where you're that finance team and you've got to grapple with this. As Jack says, it tends to be monthly, but we have a bunch of users who do this Weekly can be quite common in retail and hospitality, and sometimes people are even doing it daily, where they need to cascade the relevant revenues and costs to the different entities. Typically, we're looking at this as a month-end process, and there's just so much time and pain here. This is back to your classic manual identification. What are my costs or revenues that need to be recharged? Because it could be a revenue, right? It could be one entity's generating revenue and it owes a commission to another entity in the group. Typically, we see it in terms of costs and overhead apportionments, and there's just so much manual work involved here. Typically, it's about a day's worth of work as part of month end. It's now a 5-minute run through, report by exception. I always like to use the analogy of, it was the first time I came to use the GST VAT return filing in Xero, having previously needed to do that manually, and me having to kind of set aside half a day to a day's worth of work per quarter. And when I first came to, there's no exaggeration in this, when I first came to like running, that sales tax return with Xero, I'd have spent a good hour trying to work out what else I was meant to do, because it only took me 3 minutes. And I thought, hang on, I must have missed a bunch of steps here. Like, how can it be this little work? And then, all future quarters, I thought, wow, this is amazing. What a gift of time. It's the same principle now applied to intercompany charges, because you get your rules set up, you'll update them for things like changes in headcount. But then it is just that, a few clicks each month, like reviewing the sales tax return in Xero, just make sure that there are no outliers in there that I might want to tweak, and you've got all of the flexibility and recharge to do that. And then I just work through, all of my different entity to entity recharges and click post. So yeah, one of our customers who are really typical in this regard, it was a day's worth of manual work. It's now 5-minute tick box task, 98% time saving. And that's a typical customer. They're a like 4-entity group. We've got ones where like we've got a 57 entity group where they were struggling to close month end within the next calendar month, right? Like within 30 days, because of the volume of work they had. Their physical location based business where each of the entities trade, so much in the way of overheads that they needed to redistribute between the entities. We'd taken a couple of weeks off that time frame and enabling them to close. So yeah, there's amazing benefits to be had from Recharger, as there is from all of the products in the Mayday suite.
The thing I like the transparency as well. Like, this plays really well with like franchise groups or groups with different ownership. And
yeah,
the amount of time, like Jack, when you were showing like headcount or floor space, it brought me back to my time as like a financial controller at like a 400 people law firm. And one of the partners that was paid based on profit was always coming up and analyzing. He was like, oh, I don't use that much floor space compared to the other people. And on my team, they don't even use the kitchen. So can I get less? And I was just like, it was just painful. And so having transparency of the posting into the files is huge. Like the whole goal of like automation is automation, but with transparency, so people can review their own numbers and look at their own numbers. And that's what I didn't actually know you had that transaction posting option until there. And that just makes it like untouchable. So if you've got someone, everyone knows that there's one person that's going to review their P&L harder, and if it gives them more detail, it's going to cost you less time, and it's going to give them peace. Like they're not going to feel like they need to watch things or they're going to be ripped off, because you're doing it based on a rule, based on a calculation that a human could get wrong. And I think that's the big uptick as well on this. It's the speed, but also the accuracy is just through the roof.
No, well said. Well said. And I think, it flows nicely into the last feature we want to show you guys, and just wary of time as well, wanting to get through the demo and then talk to the roadmap as well before we run out of time. So our third product, Brag, called Business, which stands for Business Reconciliation Across the Group, is a little bit different to the other two, because it doesn't live inside of Mayday. It lives inside of your browser via a Chrome extension. But what it allows you to do is core to the premise that you've seen everywhere else. It's all about automating your intercompany transactions and minimizing the chance of one-sided postings. So when it comes to Xero, you can jump in here, if you've got your Mayday Chrome extension installed, you'll actually see in product a Mayday tab, a little Mayday tab. What that's doing is that's providing you the match and create functionality that you're already used to from within your Zero Bank feed, but it's allowing you to reconcile transactions across other entities. So from within this screen, we can match this transaction up with a bill or an invoice in another entity, or multiple bills, multiple invoices as required. In this case, we would actually automatically match up. We've automatically identified that that transaction here relates to this bill. We've figured out the foreign currency translation as well. So all you would have to do is go ahead and click continue. As soon as you do that, we're going into the other entity for you, into the other Xero entity for you. We're marking that bill as paid to the intercompany account, and we're pre-filling the create feature within this bank feed so that you can one-click post to the intercompany on this side. So once again, it's all about removing that need, as Tyler kind of called out before, having to pop open another Xero file, log in there, find the relevant bill or invoice, mark it to the intercompany, hope that you haven't forgotten to, hope you remember the narrative, come back over here, now post this one to the intercompany. So it's just, it leaves you so open to a one-sided posting, but worse, it can leave the bill unpaid in the other entity. If someone's posted it on this side and said, yep, put it to the intercompany, forgets to go back, forgets to mark that bill as paid, it can then get paid again. So it's just about minimizing that. And it's a nice, really sleek way of doing it. It's right there within your Xero Bank feed. You don't have to do anything different. So yeah, and if you needed to, if you ever want to see which transactions have been posted right from within Mayday, you've got a reconciliation log of all the transactions that you've reconciled using Bragg as well.
And
So,
is Mayday the only Xero app that influences the bank rec screen? I think it might be. Like all the other apps, I think post and then you're matching. Mayday's the only one that might have a play on that. If I haven't seen another one, which is quite cool.
I think Dex now with their Dextension as well.
Nice, well played, Dex. It's just a cool function.
yeah, no, we love it. It's a nice little crescendo to the demo. So I'll wrap it up there. I appreciate there's probably questions. People might want to get into more depth, but ultimately there'll be an opportunity at the end of this to, if we want to go through some questions now, we can. Otherwise, you're all welcome to book some time one-to-one and we can go through the product, how it would work for you individually. So wrapping up the demo and moving forward, obviously something that is important to understand is, well, what does it actually take to get up and running with Mayday? We've spoken about a few things such as, your intercompany accounts don't have to be in balance. You can use Mayday to help figure out those discrepancies. But Katrina, I mean, can you speak to your experience getting up and running? How was it? How long did it take? And then Tyler, I know you've just done it, so we can speak to you in a sec.
Yeah, it's actually really simple, surprisingly simple, because from my 16 by 16 matrix where you think, oh, there's just so many accounts that have to match. It's actually really simple. You go in, it tells you here are your entities, and then you literally just choose on column left, this GL account matches with column right, that GL account and that entity. And because you've already got the matrices, because we've been doing the recs, we know the mapping, and all the Xero databases and their GL codes are on the one setup screen, and you can just do it all on one time, one screen without flicking back and forth to other screens. It's actually really quick. Because I have the matrix, I know what GL codes match to which in one entity to another. So it actually took me 15 minutes on my 16 entity one. And even less, I have another group that's only 4 entities there. So it's very quick. And then the red and green comes up straight away. So again, it is satisfying when to fix them all, the green pops up. But it was very quick, very simple, and very intuitive. No instruction book. I hate watching videos on how to use someone's software, because if it's written well, it's going to be intuitive. Like it's going to be like an iPhone. It's just going to work. And Mayday was totally intuitive, and there was no video to watch or manual to read.
That's exactly the same as my experience, Katrina. Like I knew we had an issue. We had a group, 25 plus entities, and like I knew our intercompanies we needed a really quality check on for this consolidated reporting. yeah, same thing. Like the connection, signing in with Xero, piece of cake. And then adding a couple team members, settings, piece of cake. Like, it's not an overly confusing piece of software. The thing I like is you can get started so easy. It's so easy to connect. I connected 25 files in one hit, boom. And then the data updated really quickly. I think I left it overnight because I'd connected late. And then, adding a couple intercompany loans, even the little things it does well. It like names the loans intuitively. So you can change them, but like even just saying, oh, this is a loan between company A and company B means I don't have to like spend time, and I've got consistency of naming conventions. So when I'm reviewing it, like my review is a piece of cake. And honestly, when I saw the all green, I was pretty happy. Like it is a painful point in any consolidation, the intercompany loan. So yeah, it is David, I know your intent is to enable smaller businesses or multi-entity businesses to operate like they're on NetSuite or Microsoft, Business Central. And I actually think this is better. Like, they don't have this. Like, the businesses like NetSuite, Business Central, yeah, you can do consolidations, but you can't click refresh. You can't click, the speed of checking, the speed of reviewing that Mayday and Xero have. It's just super clean.
That's so interesting. Just on that, I think that's becoming more and more clear to us. We always thought it was about helping businesses scale with Xero as they became more complex, entered the pro finance category, as we like to call it. And don't get me wrong, we absolutely do that. But we've got a business who a couple of months ago moved over to Xero from Sage Intacct. And that's been so eye-opening. I remember the demo with Parish, where he was just blown away about what he's able to do with Mayday versus the native functionality, which has really opened our eyes to the fact that it's not just about preserving; it is about being able to deliver a far superior experience and superior ability to close month end that comes with it.
Yeah, that's true. We've got a client at the moment in the middle of an Intacct install because they're global. A lot of their entities, countries you can't use Xero on it yet. It's difficult. It's just like, I do think the mid-size entities that use good tech, you operate as a faster business, faster finance team.
And I mean, as nice as everybody's comments have been around how quick and easy it is to set up, I mean, we still are happy if anyone's listening to assist. Obviously, as you get into recharges, there are some very unique scenarios. Lots of businesses do things differently. Different transactions need to be pulled in. And so just understanding how it will work for your use case, we obviously assist with too. But yeah, Balancer and setting up your loans is a super quick and easy process.
I think that's right. And I'd just like to.
Oh,
sorry, Katrina.
Sorry. I just wanted to add at the end, one thing I've also done is offshored one of our groups, bookkeeping offshore. And I was a bit apprehensive because I was pretty new to that. I know lots of people on this call probably have done it a long time ago. It took me a while to get on board. But the beauty with having Mayday is that it is simple and intuitive, like NetSuite in its simplicity to use, but Mayday goes one extra level. It makes it really simple, and having it come up straight away in the bank rec, for example, I've got peace of mind that even though I don't have a team member in the office, with me who can just come over and ask me a question, it's actually really quite simple and intuitive. And so when it comes to that training piece and that quality control, I've just got that peace of mind that having such a uniform, clean, simple system to nip errors as they arise just saves that month end process at the end. So I just wanted to put that in there as well. Like, although it's made Xero was designed for small businesses, I'm actually using it for quite a large business now, and using an offshore bookkeeping team, and having that Mayday just gives me that peace of mind. And when I transferred, it didn't make one would think, oh, is it going to be a problem? But my month end close is just as quick. There's no problems because the systems and workflow is uniform.
And the point I was just going to make was to sort of echo Jack's around So Balancer and Bragg, those sort of self-serve out the box, you're ready to go, very quickly, very intuitive. Recharger, it can often be valuable to have a sort of quick 20-minute onboarding call, we found, to run through the creation of your first couple of rules together. If I take myself back to before I created my first ever zero bank rule, it's that type of situation. It's learning to ride a bike, and as I like to say on those onboarding calls, once you've done a couple, you've done your next 100 for the sort of understanding, and we've got a bunch of experience that we've seen from all of our customers to be able to best tailor those recharge rules to your needs. So yeah, that's something that we do with every new trialist. We'll reach out, pop a link to book in an onboarding call, and particularly for Recharger, we've seen that prove really valuable.
Yeah, awesome. So I appreciate we have gone probably a little bit over time. So we'll hopefully rapid fire through from a product roadmap perspective, which is the last part of the conversation. But if anyone does have to go, this is being recorded and we'll share it with you. But we should just be a few more minutes and then we can wrap up. So from a roadmap perspective, I mean, personally, this is where I always get quite excited. I like to know where a product's going. What they have today is always good, but when you're an early stage startup like we are, we move quickly. There's new features coming every few weeks. So it's important to understand that what you're investing in is not just the features we've got today, but also where we're going. And the earlier you're on board, the more you can kind of have an impact in this direction. But we have a few things that are already on the road, already in progress. So David, I might get you to speak to each of these if you can quickly.
Yeah, amazing. And I will talk fast, conscious of time. So we split it down between the three products. So you mentioned coming this week, we've got inter-entity recharges. So the second dimension to Recharger, not just recharging costs and revenues between entities, but being able to split between different tracking categories that you might use for different divisions, different departments, and moving expenses and revenue up and down the P&L. This has been requested a huge amount, and we're really excited to have it live. And then also ad hoc recharges to go with it. So those recharge situations that will come up but aren't repeatable, providing you with an easy ability to kind of do that from within calculations without needing to anticipate those ahead of time and build recharge rules for them. So that's Mayday Recharger. And then coming up soon in terms of what have we got coming up next, Jack, if we could skip slides. Coming up soon in Bragg. Oh yeah, the really, really exciting kind of over and part payments in Bragg. That's coming very soon. We've had a bunch of requests for this, so really excited to have that live. And then in terms of Balancer, so we've got some really exciting things coming up in Balancer soon. Right now we match by GL code in Balancer. We've had a bunch of requests where people have accounts receivable, accounts payable matching by contact between their group entities. So that's a headline item that we have on our roadmap for Balancer for this quarter. Intelligent fix asymmetries. So this is moving into the next stage of Balancer and really helping you solve those problems. So let's go back to the transaction matching that we ran through previously in Balancer. We've got those 1,000 transactions in one account code, 999 in the other. That one, the one-sided posting, today you need to go off and find out what's happened there and resolve it in zero. We're going to move one step further. So in that situation, that one-sided posting, one of two things has happened there. To simplify it, like either it's been incorrectly posted to the intercompany code in one entity, or it should have been posted to the intercompany code in the other entity and it hasn't. What we're going to start moving into is making that resolution even easier for you, going and finding the corresponding, the other side of that in the other entity that's gone to the P&L, for example, and then presenting it to you to say, look, we've matched these two up, which is wrong? Should it have been posted to the P&L in the entity where it's been posted the account code, in which case click OK to fix, or the opposite of that. So this is so exciting. This is us saving you even more time when it comes to keeping your intercompanies in balance. And then the other part of that we've got coming up in Balance soon, the ability to post journals simultaneously to both account codes, so to the two different entities. Let's say that you've decided to write off a chunk or all of the intercompany balance, the ability to post that journal simultaneously to both entities so that there's no risk of an asymmetry in getting that done. So that's what's coming up in the 3 multi-entity products that we have live. And then 2024, we're first going to tackle revenue recognition, starting with deferred revenue. We'll then cover off accrued revenue, as well as accruals and prepayments. So, Katrina, to your point, we're going to start tackling those, whether we call those red or pink segments there. We can have that debate another time if we want, but cost journals and revenue journals are next up on the list as we build out the coverage of those month end kind of problem children that take us all the time. And there was a point earlier, like I can't remember who made it. I think maybe Tyler, around there are loads more month-end pain points that we're still learning about. We did a hackathon the other day with one of our customers, which identified flux analysis as something that we can that we could build into the month-end pain points we address. So this list is always growing. Will never be done. Anything that is causing you pain in that gap between accurate bookkeeping and accurate accounting in closing off month end is kind of on our roadmap. And a big milestone for us is when I mentioned earlier about daily bookkeeping. Real-time accounting is not a thing today. If I have a mid-month board meeting or a funding application, I can't entertain doing a mid-month close. That's something that should be possible to conceive of, and that's something that we will bring about.
Cool. Thanks, David. And I think just to call out as well with respect to the colors, the pinks opening us up from a single entity perspective too. So if you are a single entity business or you work with single entity businesses on Xero, the functionality that is coming with intra-entity recharges as of this week, and also more features in future, will mean that there's some relevance to Mayday for you. As of today, or up until today, it's been primarily about the multi-entity challenges, balancing intercompany accounts, those kinds of things. So yeah, just keep that in mind, because I know we still use the if multi-entity, then Mayday messaging, but very soon it will be if on Xero, then Mayday. So
that happens a lot. That happens a lot. Like, we've got companies with tracking categories and Xero, and even like two Xero entity files like can benefit from this if they've got enough transactions going back and forth, because it scales in pricing. For 2 entities, it's not that expensive. Saves you a chunk of time. It's worth it.
No, absolutely. Well, I mean, I got to thank you Tyler, and you Katrina for joining us, and thank you all for attending and coming along. There is a discount for you. It is part of our APAC launch, so it's not going to be available forever, but we've got it open until the 15th of March so that you can start a trial today. You can leverage, the full 30 days to try it out and still access that discount code if you're interested. So it's a great opportunity to have a look. And that QR code there on the right is just to make it easy. If you've got your phone out, you can feel free to scan that and book a call with me. Have a chat anytime if you really want to. I would love to speak to each and every one of you to find out how we might be able to help. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for hanging with us. Appreciate we've gone a little bit over. So once again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye,
very
everyone.
much.
Happy reconciling with Mayday.
See ya.